So good afternoon. As Peter mentioned, my name's Skip Haffner, and I work with the research department at Jeppesen. And we have been an aviation company now for over 80 years, providing information services and solutions to pilots and airlines. And today I'd like to take the opportunity to share some of the challenges that these airlines face that information technology is rapidly solving, and we have the ability to take these airlines to the next level. So first, I'd like to start out with a little bit of the Jeppesen story and really where we came from so you get a feeling of what we are able to do. We have a mission, and our purpose in life is transforming transportation, where we take our services and capabilities and make airlines much more efficient as we go forward. We're providing weather data, flight plans, information in the cockpit, and overcoming some of the challenges that the airlines face today in an ever-competitive market. Now, we have a rich history. Jeppesen started out a long time ago with one man, and that man was L. Ray B. Jeppesen. And L. Ray had a mission in life. His mission was actually to survive. That was his goal. He was an airmail pilot from Salt Lake City, Utah, to Denver, Colorado. That was one of the most dangerous airmail routes in the country. It crossed over the Rocky Mountains. So in order to survive, as he was flying on nice weather days, he would note down certain obstacles, farmers' fields where he might be able to land. He would actually, on his days off, drive back to those fields, pace off the distances on those fields, and mark down in a little black book what those landing distances could be if he ever needed to use that as a safe landing spot. He would also talk to the farmers and ask them if they could provide weather reports if he called. He would note obstacles and climb to the top of the hills and note all of the altitudes, because the weather in the Rocky Mountains is very unpredictable. It can change rapidly within an hour from a beautiful day to a thunderstorm. He collected all of this information in that little black book. What he soon realized, as working as an airline pilot at that time, is that people would pay for his information, and pilots became more and more interested in asking him about that little black book and could they get copies. And in 1934, he turned the little black book into an information services company where he started printing these charts for safety. He was truly an aviation pioneer back in those days. Today, the little black book looks a little bit different. If you look on the screen there, you can see some of our paper charts printed up in the top center. We print over 475,000 paper charts still today. But information technology has been able to transform that, and we now see the digital versions of the little black book, anywhere from the tablet devices, iPad computers, and even the avionics in the airplane itself displays the information in that little black book. And no longer are we just limited to the cockpit. We share flight planning, weather services, crew planning, and a variety of services to the airlines that help them be more efficient. We have locations now serving customers all over the world. Jeppesen's market share right now for commercial airlines is about 70% of all airlines around the world use one or more of our products. So we covered. Here in Gdansk, for example, we have a major product development center with over 400 people that's continuing to grow year over year. Here's some statistics of our little black book as it stands today. One of the most notable that I like to look at is in the bottom left. It talks about those 475,000 printed pages. What it doesn't show is that less than 5 years ago, we were well over 1 billion, and then technology happened. The iPad came to the flight deck. And we were able to work with our airline customers, leverage that specific technology, and bring the information into the flight deck digitally. And it has taken off ever since. About 1/3 of the airline customers that we have are going completely digital. Now, Jeppesen in 2000 was bought and purchased by another company. You may have heard of them, Boeing Aircraft Manufacturing. And the founder of that, Bill Boeing, has a very similar history. He was an aviation pioneer. He actually started out in the logging industry. When he went to his first fair, his first aviation fair, he was so enthralled by the airplane, he decided to be an entrepreneur and start up that airplane manufacturing company. Boeing was founded over 100 years ago in 1916, going strong today. Today, Boeing's a major provider for services, defense services, space applications, and also, of course, commercial airplanes. Last year, they made revenues of over $94 billion, so we're pleased to be a large part of the Boeing family. Now, that's enough about the companies. Let's talk a little bit about the commercial aviation market, because I find it fascinating. Right now, the aviation market is about 100 years old, and it's growing significantly year over year. Here you can see that the world average is a growth of about 6.7%. But the interesting thing to note is that it is also resilient. So if you look at this graph, right in here, you see a little dip. That's around 9/11, when many of the airlines went out of business, went bankrupt. But it recovered. Here is the Great Recession. Again, the trend recovered, and over the last several years, especially with the drop in fuel prices, there's been significant increases in the growth in the aviation market. Now, one interesting thing to note is some of the past history and the profitability. Airlines had been known for years to be right on the edge of making money. Richard Branson, the mastermind behind the brand Virgin, was once noted as saying, if you want to become a millionaire, take $1 billion and start up an airline. That has since changed in the last few years as fuel prices have declined and taken some of the pressure off. Airlines have become more profitable. But it's not just about fuel. It's also about technology and efficiency, and it's also about business models and finding new ways and new revenue streams. So some of the things that you've probably seen is airlines that never used to charge for baggage 10 years ago, you have to pay. Some airlines you have to pay for seats. Some airlines you have to pay for meals. So it is changing through business model innovation. Now let's talk a little bit about the complexity and how challenging it is for some of those airlines to maintain that profitability. So, of you guys in the audience, how many have taken a commercial flight within the last year? Anybody out there? Okay, about half. Now, how many have ever had a delay of more than 2 hours? Yep, pretty frustrating, isn't it? Okay. I think for those of you that have flown, this looks very familiar. Up in the top left, we have the online booking. Then you get to the airport and you check in your luggage. Although this picture is changing too from technology. If you look at some of the airline ticket counters these days, they're not manned by personnel. You actually print the bag tag yourself and put it on, and actually put it on the belt. So technology is influencing that as well. Then we have the experience of getting onto the airplane and going to our destination. But what I want you to appreciate is some of the complexity that goes on behind the scenes and what you might not realize that it took to get you to your destination. So if you were an airline, one of the first things you'd have to decide is, where am I going to fly? What routes can I make money on? Where's the competition? What kinds of places do people want to go? And this is a challenging one because there's over 750 airlines in this world. So to find a profitable route, make money at it, and not be crushed by the competition is a major challenge. But they decide what routes they want to go on. Then they also need to work at how much money will the passengers pay me to get to my destinations. And this is very challenging. If you go in on different days, you'll see different prices. And they have to have IT systems that support all of these capabilities and the changing of the market and the changing of the prices. Once you have passengers and you know what routes you want to fly, then you have to manage the assets for that. What type of aircraft will I buy? Will I buy them? Will I lease them? Each of the different types of aircraft have very different capabilities. I can't have a small regional jet fly across the ocean with full load of passengers. Asset management becomes a critical piece of that puzzle. You also have to account for maintenance, and this is a challenging one as well. Maintenance happens from the perspective of being scheduled or unscheduled, right? Of those delays out there, probably about 50% of the delays that you folks have experienced were maintenance related. Weather actually is the number one, and maintenance is number two. But even if you take out the unscheduled maintenance, one of the great challenges is that airplane needs to come back to the maintenance facility for sometimes 2 weeks or maybe even a month that asset is not making money. Again, it's a scheduling nightmare. Then if we take it to the next level, once we have the airplanes that we want to fly on, we need crews. And we need to figure out this piece of the puzzle from very different aspects. So for example, pilots. There's usually two positions. There's a pilot or captain and a first officer. They usually can't interchange. And you'll also have rules around duty times. There's a very limited set of hours that they can fly during the day or be on duty during the day. And then on top of that, you have to understand and plan for the rest time so that they are rested and refreshed in the morning or in the later afternoon for that return flight. Now, we've got the routes, we've got the passengers, we've got the airplanes, and we've got the crews to fly them there. Now you have to coordinate and schedule all of the ground operations that are going to occur for that flight. We have to get catering on board. We have to fuel the airplane with the right amount of fuel. We have to get all the baggage loaded. We have to clean the airplane. All of these add to the significant schedule challenges that the airlines face. You also have to consider the airspace and airport constraints. This is a picture of London Heathrow Airport. It's one of the busiest airports in the world, and it only has 2 runways. There are major schedule constraints for getting into and out of London Heathrow. On top of all of the things we've done in our airline, we have to plan around it. In fact, it's so valuable in Heathrow that a short time ago, back in February, Oman Airlines paid $75 million for 2 slots, 2 takeoff and landing slots. That's how desirable that would be. But again, that's yet another constraint on our schedule. Another piece, and this is a big major piece for Jeppesen, is you have to have the information. So what you're looking at here is the amount of information that's grown over the years. This is a look at some of our charts that from the 1970s to the 2000s, and the amount of information that used to be on those paper charts. Now we bring them onto the digital world and have applied technology. and we're able to provide that information. But the pilots have to have the latest winds, the latest weather, the latest flight plan as they go forward. Once that's all been assembled and we're ready to execute the flight, there's enormous collaboration that goes from the Airline Operations Center to the pilots over to ATC. It's a massive coordination effort to get things flying. And imagine doing that for all of these flights. So this is a snapshot from FlightAware on April 6th of this year at about 6 p.m. These are the flights just for that time period, right around 6, that we're going into or coming out of Europe. It's an enormous amount of effort that the airlines take on, enormous challenges. But we've done our planning, we've gotten the assets, we've got the passengers, we're ready to go, we're flight planning, we've coordinated with everybody. And then, as Robert Burns would say, the best laid plans go awry. Reality sets in. Things happen, and delays occur. So after all the enormous effort, all it takes is a thunderstorm at your hub airport, and it throws your entire set of plans off. And this is where the airlines really need the most help, is how do I recover all of those elements? I've got to get the passengers to the right place after the delay. I've got to be able to get the airplanes in the right place, and I have to have crews to fly those airplanes. So other things that go wrong. This is a picture of the Frankfurt airport and what that particular airport does in preparation for a labor strike. This happened to be about the time that Lufthansa pilots were planning to do a strike. It's an enormous disruption to the airline when things like this happen. One of my personal favorites was this. Back in 2010, over in Iceland, a volcano that I can't pronounce erupted, and for about a week, the European airspace was in total chaos. If you look at the very top right, you can see that all of the airspace of those countries was closed for about 10 days. Massive disruptions causing millions of dollars lost for the airlines and millions of passengers stranded actually all over the world for this. So these delays happen, and airlines need technology help and need ways that we can provide better optimization systems, getting things back on track. The nice thing is, for us, that complexity brings huge opportunity. Airlines aren't known for their latest technology necessarily, and this is where a huge opportunity exists. And as we move forward, airplanes of today are becoming more and more data rich. So as new airplanes come onto the market, we are able to pull that in and leverage that data. The Boeing 787 can produce as much as 500 gigabytes of data in a single flight. That's data that we can leverage for better and more efficient operations. We also nowadays have much better data connectivity, and that allows us to provide many different solutions for the airlines, bringing information down from the airplane and also sending it up to the crews and the flight deck crews so they can make the flight as efficient as possible. So there's several things that we're focused on, and the airline industry is focused on as well. Increasing asset utilization, crew utilization, making things better for the airlines as we go. One of the major pieces that we're focused on also is disruption management. How do we get those delays and those passengers and those crews back on track? We can also provide real-time information to the flight deck crews. This allows them to optimize their route of flight. These are things that they've never had before. We're able to provide new, updated, and optimized flight plans. We can use data analytics to look into past data history and find out how we can optimize the operation for tomorrow and where we can improve. We can understand what hold times are, taxi times are, and fuel loads that need to be used for the different areas. We can also use data analytics and visualizations to help the airlines understand the problems. Often airlines don't really have as much insight as you might expect into the delays they occur. Through data and data analytics, we can post and share with them true data of what's going on at the airline to help them make decisions. We want to use data analytics as well in a new area for predictive maintenance. What if we could understand when parts are going to fail before they actually fail? What if we knew during a downtime we could replace a part that may fail in the next 20 hours? This is an exciting area that we're working on for Boeing and other air carriers. So there's a number of places that technology can be leveraged to pull together wonderful solutions that improve the airline's operations, reduce the number of delays that you folks experience as the customers. Boeing and Jeppesen are working together on many of these areas. So here's a glimpse into some of the things that we're doing as a company.
Over the last 100 years, Boeing has been making airplanes that change the world. With each passing decade, aviation technology crosses into new frontiers, and Boeing continues to shape that landscape by connecting, protecting, exploring, and inspiring the world through aerospace innovation. But constant innovation presents an ongoing set of new and exciting opportunities. What was once a labor-intensive, paper-driven industry began moving into the digital realm. And with these new advances, our vision became clear. And in 2012, we created a new internal organization focused on this goal, with employees in more than 20 locations around the world and a mission far greater than simple data delivery. We did this to bring teams, solutions, and areas of expertise already in existence, but in different parts of the Boeing organization, together as one. Based on conversations with our customers and listening to their pain points, our mission became clear. Fuel savings, improving asset and crew utilization, and managing operational disruptions are integral to the success of every airline. And we recognize the value in connecting planning, dispatching, flying, and maintenance through an integrated portfolio. This approach allows us to combine critical operational data with informational intelligence and provide our customers the ability to make the most informed decisions for their business in real time. We've been offering cutting-edge solutions for decades. Our suite of tools, which covers every element of the flight journey, is the best in the industry. The next 20 years are going to present a number of challenges for the airline industry. Older aircraft will be...
Not sure what happened to the last part of the video. But that's some of the things that we're working on. There's enormous opportunities to go forward with in the airline industry. But that's not the end. There's the dawning of a new industry that's going on right now that we are becoming a part of. This is an industry for unmanned aerial vehicles. Now, some of the applications we know that exist today are photography and real estate and power line inspection, many things like that. Amazon looking at package delivery. The challenge is we don't know how that industry is going to play out. We are really in the pioneering age of unmanned aerial vehicles as we go forward. Back in the days of the little black book, we don't know yet what's going to be that little black book and what are the killer apps for UAVs. There's enormous energy going around this space, but we still have major problems that we have to solve around that. How do we detect and avoid manned aircraft? Can we operate in and around regular airports? How do we avoid airplanes coming together and UAVs coming together? So it's an enormous blank space that we have yet to fill, and looking for technologies and innovation and capabilities to bring this industry to maturity. It's truly an area for endless possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Skip, for sharing the challenges of aviation with us. Is there anyone who has a question to Skip? Sure.
Nope.
Ah, that's right. Good to see some hands.
Thank you for this inspiring talk. I have one question. Is there any chance that airplanes can already communicate from airplane to airplane, live data, like similar to car communication, or is it always going through the ground?
So in today's world is normally going from airplane to ground. There is some radio communication interchange that can happen from airplane to airplane, but it's usually on the same frequency.
Skip, thank you very much.
Thank
Warm
you.
applause for Skip Haffner.